You are listening to the podcast For Wales, See Wales. Now, we are a podcast all about Wales, Welsh issues and Welsh politics. So if you want to be more informed about Wales, please keep listening. But in the meantime, we just need 2 minutes to pay the bills. As we know, because we read the news, there is a lot of crime.
There is crime about.
Crime is about. Have you ever been broken into? I've been broken into.
No, I haven't. Have you?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, two kids jumped over our back fence and nicked me and my wife's bikes. But during uni, someone broke into our uni house and they nicked every single laptop inside there, apart from my housemates, which was an Acer laptop.
Yeah, well,
and they used that to break the window to get out. True story.
Double insult.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know where you could have stored your valuable?
Go on.
What?
Inside a lion container.
Oh, yeah. Couldn't break that.
They would not be able to smash their way in or their way out.
Absolutely.
Even that laptop would not have done any damage.
Even an Acer.
Because it's guarded by lions.
Yeah.
What's really good about them is you don't need planning permission. If you've got an outdoor space, you can store them there. They're super secure. It's where you can store your valuables in a way that you are safe in the knowledge that they're going to be safe.
Yeah, and wind and watertight. All this extreme weather we're getting at the moment as well, not affected.
Are they watertight?
They are wind and watertight. Yeah.
I worry about that. Like, I've got a little office at the bottom of my garden that was an old garage, and every single sort of winter, every time it's raining, I genuinely do go in and go, it's fine today.
Yeah. Is today going to be the day?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you want to get a bit of secure wind and watertight outdoor storage, I suggest you go to lioncontainers.co.uk.
What's that website?
It's lioncontainers.co.uk.
Thank you. Hello and welcome to For Wales, See Wales with me, Robin Morgan.
And me, Will Hayward.
And no Mel. But I quite like the fact we've empty chaired her.
Yeah, it's like we invited her on, but she refused to come on because she knew we'd challenge her views.
Yeah, which are bad views.
Reprehensible.
Really bad.
Reprehensible.
And we've put up with them long enough, but we have a 3-strike policy here on For Wales, See Wales. And
she struck a child 3 times.
Yeah. But we're not going to suggest why she's not here. I feel like that would be, legally it's probably not sensible to while it's all ongoing. Right?
To me, it's disrespectful for the victims.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough as well. But she's hold her hands up and she's listening and learning.
She is. She's grown. I think once she's gone through the kind of training. And they're like, I think she will be ready to be reintroduced back to society, because I think you can't just cancel someone when they do what Mel does.
No, I think so. And I think it's a sad state of affairs that we can't listen to other views and behaviours and desires, I suppose. Like what she... She'll be back after she's served the time and the funeral's taking place. So,
cheers. Love you, Mel.
I'm missing next week, so I'm worried about it.
Oh, mate, next week you're going to get absolutely... This is why I will never not be on the podcast, because I know you might tell the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm pretty good, thanks, mate. I've had 3 weddings in 3 weeks. Not that I've been like...
Yeah, you shouldn't get married, though. You're Mormon.
Yeah,
famously Mormon.
I just can't stop. I've got such an insatiable appetite for weddings. There's just been kind of that age where there's 3 weddings in 3 weeks, and my social battery, like, they were all lovely. They were all lovely weddings with lovely people. And
you have to say that, though.
Sorry, they don't listen.
Okay. Do you have when I go to multiple weddings in a year, I will often rank them with Jen, sometimes while I'm at the 3rd wedding. Do you do that?
Yes, we do rank them, and we thought they were all the best.
You're such a coward.
I know.
Such a coward.
I don't want to end up the same way as Mel.
Yeah, fair enough.
What have you been up to?
Bits and bobs, really. It was my daughter's sports day today, which was quite sweet.
What was she competing in?
So the big 5. So
the elephant.
A small run, the same distance but in a sack race. Uh-huh. There was a relay where they had to pass each other a little teddy bear, and then some sort of mad obstacle course which consisted of going through a hoop like she's in the army, a beanbag on head like she's in the army, and crawling on all 4s like she's in the army. Oh my God, are we mobilising?
God. This is Starmer's plan. This is where the money's gone.
Are we on a war footing and they're doing it through sports days?
Yeah, I mean, it's smart.
My daughter smashed the sack race. I've never seen, I've not been. We rarely travel places by sack, so I've never seen her in sack.
Yeah,
I think she might be better than that than walking.
I guess you're not a very sack-based family. Like,
No, we're sort of sackless. Sort of. We're
the amount of women have said that to me.
We're sans sack in the Morgan family.
Last week, someone tried to give us some constructive feedback about how we go off on too many tangents and we giggle too much.
Yeah.
We responded with basically nuclear. We went a bit wild.
Me and Mel threatened to kill them.
There's been... You did threaten to kill them.
I stand by it.
I was looking through the comments on and we do read all the comments for our sins. And someone put, I'm offended by the low level of swearing in this episode.
Oh, do you think we toned it down subconsciously?
Yeah, I mean, I think they were like joshing, but I think maybe we did kind of take on board that person's advice inadvertently.
Interesting.
By not swearing as much.
I'm a massive people pleaser, so I think I probably did subconsciously.
Someone else wrote, yes to the tangents, please keep them in. Thank you very much, Kirsty.
I once knew a Kirsty, and we'll talk about her for the next 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, one person said, can you call it Wales news without a tangent? Sincerely, this is how we talk and communicate, where I constantly find so refreshing about having people represented as you are, speaking pointedly about us and seeking to include us in the conversation, rather than the UK media constantly speaking at us.
So the tangents work then?
I think the tangents absolutely work. I mean, let's be honest, the person who made that criticism after listening to last week isn't listening now.
Do you not think so? Imagine listening to a podcast and being so personally targeted. That's quite fun, isn't it?
It's probably how Arati Davis feels about all of our coverage.
Do you reckon it was Arati Davis?
I bet it was.
Shit, man.
I bet it was. I mean, he doesn't normally go after people like us because we're not immigrants.
Aren't we all immigrants deep down? I found out the other day I can get an Irish passport.
What?
Yeah, I know.
How?
Thievery. From my... if you steal a passport, Will, you can be anyone. Through my dad's side. My brother has sent off all the applications and stuff, and he's got it, so I can just like jump on his application. So I can get an EU passport.
I'd love to get an EU passport.
It's going to be great. Jump on mine. Marry me as one of your many, many weddings.
Done. So on the subject of Andrew Arati Davis, we were actually sent in a video of him by James Whittaker, so credit to James. Did you see him talking about blue tongue?
No, I didn't.
Okay. I'm just going to play the audio,
and
I want you to tell me if you can spot why this was sent in.
The announcement last night by the Welsh Labour government to ban livestock coming in from England because of blue tongue is most probably the stupidest act that the minister's undertaken in his time in office. Blue tongue is not transmittable from cow to cow or sheep to sheep. It's transferred by midgets flying in the air. And you're not going to stop those midgets at the Offers Dyke border. Livestock is historically transferred from England to Wales and provide a sustainable and economic platform for the livestock sector here in Wales to flourish. It's not too late for the Labour minister...
So he's trying to say midges.
Midges as in bzzz, flying around.
But he puts a letter T in there.
He does put a letter T in there.
Twice.
So I'm not making light of the issue of blue tongue. But I am making light of the fact it does sound like the former leader of the opposition says that it has been spread by flying midgets.
Yeah.
Now, we should also say he's not saying the word midgets, and actually midgets is quite an offensive term. You'd say things like someone with restricted growth or short stature.
Yeah. And you can say that as someone of short stature.
Yeah, as their leader.
Yeah.
I can say that. But I just...
Do you think it was a bet? Because he stumbles on the first one, but then he really enunciates on the second
So
one.
later on, he does actually say midges a bit more clearly.
Right.
And they have put subtitles in, and I do wonder if that is because they think he is saying the word midgets.
It's the language of the farm, Will.
But the best bit of it is when they say, you're not going to stop these midgets.
Yeah, you're not going to.
They're too powerful.
They're too powerful. I mean, blue tongue as a phrase is quite funny.
This is actually a good time for an announcement. So
you have blue tongue.
I have blue tongue.
Congrats, like a gender reveal.
Yeah. They just flew in. We are going to talk about it, but there is going to be a better time to talk about this kind of agricultural issue because ForWalesSeeWales is going to be doing a record from the Royal Welsh Agricultural Show How exciting is that?
It's so exciting. We can't wait. It's gonna be wicked. Mel Owen will be there. She'll be out of prison by that point.
They're her people anyway.
Yeah,
She's allowed.
yeah, sure. I'm genuinely buzzing for it. It's gonna be great.
So we should stress this isn't a live show you can get tickets for. We're just going to record from there, talk about things like the sustainable farming scheme, speak to some farmers. Oh, you know where we're doing it?
Where?
Inside a lion container.
Of course we are.
We're doing it in a lion container. It's too perfect.
As we should. Very exciting.
One of the most frustrating things about doing the pod is like we record like a day or two before it goes out because there's a huge load of video to edit and stuff like that. We also need to listen back and check we haven't been incredibly libelous.
Shout out to Heyman Media.
Shout out for Heyman Media for saving us from ourselves and the midges. Very rarely do we get to actually like talk about stuff as it happens.
Live.
Well, the latest NHS waiting lists for Wales have been released just as we started recording.
Okay.
So you remember back in November time, Leonard Morgan, exclusively in the Will Hayward newsletter, revealed that she would want the longest wait, so that's 2-year wait, people who've waited over 2 years for a procedure, to be down to about 8,000 by March. At the time, they were 24,000, so a 2/3 reduction. I'll be honest, I was really sceptical. They managed to get down to it. They did. Yeah. Skin of their teeth.
Yeah.
Like it was a rounding error. But just clicked on them and they've gone up again. Between March and April, the results have gone up.
By how much?
They've gone up from 8,300 to 9,600. So
Okay.
they haven't suddenly spiked to where they were, but the direction of travel, in fact, we'll put it on the screen now, and I'll show you the graph. The direction of travel is it was plummeting and then it's just reversed and gone straight back up again.
And do you think that's because they're just not caring about it as much now they've sort of like hit their target for March? The eyes are on a different prize now? Or, you know, there's so many factors could be in play.
There's so many factors that could be in play. But one thing I will say is attention and political will matter in government. And like the fact that they made such a big deal of doing this, the fact that everything was on this, once you commit to doing something as a government and as an organisation like the NHS, if you commit resources to it, you've got a lot of power to make it happen. It just means that other things might fall by the wayside as you try and do it. But do you know what this really reminds me of? Do you remember the start of the pandemic when there was just no COVID tests? And Matt Hancock was like, yeah, we'll have 100,000 tests by the end of April. And that was the thing. We had to get to 100.
He just pulled the number out of his ass, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a completely useless figure because actually what you needed, like 100,000 was fairly arbitrary. But what they did was, in the run up to the end of April, just before the last day, they basically just did loads of tests that they didn't need to do just because they wanted to hit the 100,000 figure. But then for the following like 2 weeks, they had no availability of tests because they'd used all their backlog on stuff they didn't need to do.
Right.
And to me, this seems like they threw everything into just get to 8,000, just get to that so we've got this thing to show. And then they've gone, oh, well, that was a lot of work and that isn't sustainable. And it's just started to go up again.
They burned themselves out.
Yeah.
That is funny that they did that and they still actually couldn't go under 8,000 as well. They were still slightly over, like, oh, I'm knackered.
Well, so the overall figure in Wales did go down. So there's in March, there was 790,020 people waiting for a procedure on the Welsh NHS.
Right.
Now that's gone down by 91 in the space of a month across the whole of Wales. At this rate, it would take hundreds and hundreds of years to remove the whole backlog.
Well, we have that. The Welsh Government has that in their locker, right? Most successful Democratic Party. It's easy, as we've said before, it's easy to sort of like get bogged down in the numbers with these. These are like human beings who have, you know, we don't know what these operations are for. And, you know, people's day-to-day lives could be like hugely adversely affected by the amount of time that this is taking for them, right? So it's, I mean, anecdotally, I know people who've had like lots and lots of letters for like pre-operation stuff, like, oh, an appointment here, an appointment there. Is that just to sort of get them ticked off a list and go, we saw you before a year.
Yeah.
While you were out, sorry.
So all of these kind of, this like the longest waiting list, this isn't just, they're not just people waiting for operations. They might be waiting to see a consultant to decide if they need an operation.
Right.
So if you were to have that appointment, say you waited 2.5 years for a hip replacement and you had to have a meeting with a consultant to decide whether you had the hip replacement. after you have that meeting to decide if you have a hip replacement, you are then back at zero. So even though you've waited 2.5 years for your ailment to be sorted, you haven't waited any time at all, because you're now waiting for the operation that the consultants just said you can have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
So basically, you can, as with all stats, especially at this scale, you can game them a bit. But obviously you can't game them that much because they've gone up.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like what you said about sort of political attention, and obviously there's been, in an election year, they're fighting a lot of fronts, right? They're also seemingly fighting within UK Labour as well and trying to get money from there. Yeah, I can imagine. So is it just the case of, like in an office, where chasing, could this have got sorted if someone was, hi, just chasing this up, hi, sorry to be a pain, which is how I email people. I email with so many exclamation marks and apologies and absolutely everything.
I know. I email like someone I would hate.
Right. Are you quite brutal in your emails?
I'm abrupt.
How do you sign off an email?
Cheers.
Cheers. I think cheers is fine. Cheers, comma.
Yeah, cheers, comma. No, just cheers.
Just cheers. No punctuation.
No.
Cheers, Will.
You've read my newsletter.
Cheers, Will. Well, you just saying cheers to yourself.
No, I don't say cheers, Will.
Right.
I just say cheers.
Who the fuck is the email? Sorry. Who is the? I'm more annoyed about this than waiting list going up. What? So how do you start an email? Depends
who I'm messaging.
Okay.
Like my formality drops considerably on the second email of a chain.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough.
If I was going to a public body for comment or a politician.
So you're emailing Andrew Arati Davis to ask his opinion on the influx of blue tongue and where it's coming from. How do you start that email? Andrew, yeah, all caps.
No, I'd say hi, Andrew, because I've met him multiple times.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi,
okay.
Andrew. If I'm going to him directly, if I haven't ever met the politician, I'd say, dear Mr. or Mrs. or Miss. Ms.
Do you have a Sir, Madam?
No.
Do you have a Madam, Sir, because you're such an ally?
Yes. Yeah, yes, I do.
Do you?
No, obviously not.
Oh, well, you're a fucking bigot. Gonna get you cancelled. So just be me next week. I'm in Portugal.
Just be.
We could do this like an episode in EastEnders where they go to Spain. Let's do that.
It's just going to be 3 empty chairs,
That'll
isn't
be
it?
fun.
With producer Daryl just in the background
yeah.
saying this is going to be tough to edit.
Okay, so I'm the opposite in emails. I'm very, very polite. Lots of hope you're wells. Sorry to bother yous. No worries if not.
So
lots of that.
I used to, when I first started as a journalist, like so 2015, when I messaged press officers, looking back, I was a prick. Like, you'd message press officers and you'd be like, I am the last voice of democracy. I am holding you to account. And you'd send like a request for comment where you'd be like, this is not acceptable. Like, what's your response to this? And actually, after about a year, you realise, like, firstly, you get a little bit off your high horse and stop being a knob. But you also start thinking, well, that person behind that isn't like, say the police force has done something appalling. And
well, I can't imagine that.
No, that would never happen. That would never happen.
They get the right person sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, by bringing in Mel, they've righted a lot of wrongs of their own past, haven't they? If the police force have done something terrible, like objectively, like awful, that press officer hasn't done it.
Yeah.
And
sure.
so I'd go to them and like you build up a rapport with press officers, especially political ones, because like ultimately they're just doing their job, and a helpful press officer is really, really useful. Like if they'll talk to you about things kind of off the record, or at least give you a steer. So like if I'm bringing someone in the police,
in the police car,
yeah, exactly. But like for instance,
I've really tickled myself. I thought it was a very silly, charming joke. Anyway,
you do silly charming very well. Problem is they couldn't see you doing the hand gestures of steering. Yeah. This is why you should watch on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have gone off on such a tangent.
Yeah, we have. You're welcome.
But basically, it's really useful as a journalist to have a good relationship with press officers. Now, you'll get some who are deliberately evasive, and that's a time you need to be really assertive. But I don't think when you're speaking to like a press officer, there's ever a time you don't need manners.
Sure.
But
would you say that's the same in sort of like interviews, like sort of one-on-one? I know like sometimes you've got somebody, for example, let's say you're one with Lee Anderson. It was quite combative from his side as well. Like, do you feel like someone who is, hi, lovely to meet you. Like how do you think I would go down interviewing Lee Anderson?
I think when any journalist interviews someone, the best thing you can be is unequivocally yourself.
Right.
Because the thing that people need more than ever in their news and their journalism is authenticity. Because people, like AI and the algorithm, can show you so many things. And what people need is things that they can legitimately trust. And by being yourself, you are trustworthy. So I don't think it's ever worth being rude to a politician. But also the definition of rudeness is quite broad. Like if someone is making incredibly bold claims about what they'd do if they govern, being really robust and direct in saying, well, your record doesn't show this, you have done X, Y, and Z. That isn't rude. That's your job. But I don't think it's ever actually useful to be aggressive or personal in any way, because I think you lose the person and they just shut down. You don't hear anything. But you lose the audience to a certain extent, because you're there, you're asking the questions that your audience should want asked. Say you've got someone like Trump, and people, for many, many understandable reasons, many people really, really hate him and feel like he is not a good person. And when they see a journalist, they want them to go up and go, why have you done this? You're awful. Why have you done this? And the problem with doing that as an approach is quite a lot of journalism isn't just calling people out. Quite a lot of journalism is getting people to commit to things and getting people to say things and getting people to, like during COVID, when I went into, I asked a question in the Downing Street press conferences, and what I wanted to stand up and say is, you are letting nurses down. I've spoken to nurses who are going in with no PPE, even though this was a Welsh Government issue, but you know what I mean. And you want to rant and rave at them. But actually what you need to do is get them to commit to stuff and say, so when will this be fixed? Why have you made that decision? What's done that? Because that is ultimately how you hold people accountable for their actions.
Yeah, well, that's the difference between journalism and somebody online, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You know, people who call themselves a journalist on Twitter.
I mean, I remember I was interviewing Jeremy Bowen once, and it was for his book on the Middle East correspondent. He interviewed Gaddafi, and this was when Gaddafi was in power, and it was when the Arab Spring was starting, and people were starting to like riot and turn against him. Well, they'd probably already turned against him, but visibly turn against him. Yeah. And he just said, your people hate you, leader. Like, they hate you. They're campaigning against you. You've lost them. And Gaddafi stood there and he was like, no, my people love me. My people love me, while there was like riots in Tripoli and stuff. And Jeremy Bowen was telling me that people were approaching him, like just normal Libyans, saying, you said to him that we hated him. You told him, this man who'd repressed us for years, you went and you told him that we hated him. And it was like the first time they'd seen someone speaking that truth to power. And Jeremy Bowen hadn't been aggressive. He just said, they hate you. Look at this. And that sort of stuff is so powerful. And that, when I do like interviews with politicians, I'm not putting myself in the same league as Jeremy Bowen. Absolutely not. I'd never have the balls to be like a war correspondent. But when you are in front of someone, you're interviewing someone who is powerful, you've got a real responsibility, because you're asking questions on behalf of people who don't have that access. And I think it's a real easy trick to fall into in journalists, is kind of believe your own hype and kind of ask questions for yourself, whereas actually your whole point and your only reason for being there is to ask questions on behalf of others.
I like that your advice to me if I was going to interview someone was be yourself, which is like the same advice like my dad would have given to me when I was like trying to date girls. Just be yourself, Robin. Just be yourself.
I mean, it's all about context. Like, there's sometimes, if someone's got an amazing story to tell, your job's to facilitate and let them and just shut up and let them do it. If you're speaking to someone who you've doorstepped and has done something really bad, that is a really different dynamic.
Yeah,
so
sure.
It's like,
very interesting. I appreciate it, Will. Thank you for sharing. Mel, anything to add? No.
I'm kind of frustrated that Mel isn't here, because do you remember a while ago when Elena Morgan was being questioned by Claire Griffith?
Oh yeah, we had our act out.
And you guys acted it out. There was another exchange between Darina Corn and Mark Drakeford in the Senedd. So it would have been nice to reenact it with Mel, but she isn't here. So I think we're going to have to just hear from the cheesemonger himself.
Sure.
Here we go.
I'm the finance minister. Would you like to listen to me? Because I can tell you.
Can't be second. There'll be no discussion.
I just tell you, the leader by Cymru is very bad at listening and very bad as well. I think what intervention.
Intervention is very, very simple. The Chancellor said in her announcement that £455 billion was coming over 10 years. Those are her words.
So you don't make the same mistake a first time this afternoon. Leader by Cymru is very bad at listening and very bad at hectoring people from where he sits down. It's not an attractive trait, I can tell him that. Now then, of that money, so members here can understand, £350 million comes in the first 3 years. There is £95 million over and above that. That is part of the 10-year investment strategy.
We'll come on to the detail of that in a second, but essentially what they were talking about then is the money Wales is getting for railways in the spending review by Rachel Reeves last week. Mm-hmm. And in it she said that £450 million will be coming to Wales over 10 years. So she said over 10 years. That has been repeated by the UK government since. But the vast majority of that is going to be spent over 3 years. But she did say over 10 years. Mark Drakeford is getting very heated because Reenap Yorth is pointing this out, basically.
Yeah.
What did you think of the tone of that?
Felt a little bit personal. I think the sort of the slap down. Saying that Reen is bad at listening, and then Plaid Cymru are bad at listening. I don't know. We've seen it a couple of times, haven't we, where Mark Drakeford gets animated within the chamber.
Would you like to listen to me?
Yeah, it has teacher vibes, doesn't it?
It has teacher vibes. It has the vibes of a man who knows his argument isn't very strong.
Do you think so? Do you think that's what it is? And it's sort of so you're overcompensating with bang, bang, bang.
So the times that, do you remember when he lost his mind at Andrew Arati Davis?
Page turning,
page flicking, really angry. That was, now don't get me wrong, the Conservatives at that time, after the Liz Truss debacle, having a go at anyone was a bit rich.
Yeah.
But the question that he was being asked by Andrew Arati Davis was about ambulance waiting times, which were terrible.
Yeah.
And the question he's been asked there was about a time that Wales, by any measure, he's kind of been screwed over a bit. I think it's not a good look for someone to get that angry over what is perfectly legitimate criticism.
So do you think Mark Drakeford, when he's maybe not, that's his tell? You know, it's when we get sassy Mark, then he's hiding something.
Yeah,
we should play poker against Mark Drakeford.
Yeah, if he's like raised and you're like re-raised and he goes, do you want to listen to me? I have got a high street.
It's quite a good accent.
No, thank you. I actually don't have a problem with politicians getting like angry, and I'm a bit kind of over like the finger pointing kind of stuff. You couldn't see it unless you were watching it, but it was a bit finger pointery.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think it's a bit of an aversion to scrutiny that Welsh Labour have had for a very long time, and this kind of, you don't understand. We are doing this really well. You don't get it. And he said, isn't it? It's not an attractive trait from the Reenicorn. But
I don't think he said Reenicorn.
We'll agree to disagree.
Yeah,
do you want to listen to me?
Yeah, sure. Sorry. It's.
Can you imagine if he'd said Reenicorn?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it'd been so good.
I mean, it is funny. It's funny to imagine that somebody within our elected building has said the phrase Reenicorn. I think it's probably happened.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That is funny.
Oh yeah.
Are we making positive steps within our democracy? Yes. Fact.
Clip. So let's go on to that spending review, because last week it was happening while it was going. We were there and we wanted to be able to analyse it.
Yeah.
Well, UK Labour made a big thing that this was going to be great for Wales, that Wales was getting £445 million for rail, £118 million for coal tips, which, just let's say, the coal tip stuff is actually a significant amount of money and it will make a difference.
Yeah.
Like, fair play on that. They also said that this was going to be the most money that Wales had ever got. Now, that's true, but also inflation. It should always be the most money we've ever got. You can't compare like a budget from 2005 to now and go, oh, wow, you're doing fantastic.
Yeah.
The most disappointing thing is that Rachel Reeves announced over 4 years, excluding HS2, £10.2 billion of funding across England and Wales. Of that, Wales, over the 4 years, is getting 350 million, which is not even a population share. It's only £108 million more than was being spent to facilitate a single station in Leeds and the infrastructure around it. Now, to compare, Scotland, who will be getting a full Barnet consequential, is going to get 3.2 billion over that time. Wales, 350 million.
Yeah, that's wild, isn't it?
And this is on top of the historic underfunding.
Yeah.
So what's most frustrating for me when I was listening to it is they haven't fixed the underlying problem.
Yeah, sure.
Like they basically said, we're going to spend lots of money on rail, but the money that's going to Wales, we'll tell them this is to make up for HS2. To make up for HS2, you fix HS2. You fix the fact that it's been defined in that way. And what was most annoying was, like I said in my newsletter, but it's essentially the equivalent of having a child's play area covered in broken glass. And instead of clearing it up, you just bandage the child's hand and gone, look, we fixed that. He's like, well, no, all the glass is still on the floor. The Welsh Government, they were loving it initially. First Minister Leonard Morgan said, this spending review is a big win for Wales. Once again, we see the benefits of the partnership in power. The cheering is frustrating because really, to me, it says that the Welsh Labour government wanted to be seen to speak up for Wales rather than meaningfully speak up for Wales.
And do you think meaningfully speaking up for Wales would have been, look, let's get some money, but also let's keep having this conversation to... Well, I mean, like, what's the end goal here? Is it getting rail devolved?
It doesn't even need to be devolved. It's just a commitment that the proportion of money spent on railways in England and Wales is proportional to the amount of rail and people in Wales. That would be success. And like, I appreciate you've kind of got to take your wins. And actually, I kind of feel sorry for Leonard Morgan and Joe Stevens, Secretary of State for Wales, because I have no doubt they really, really tried to make the case for Wales to get its fair share of funding. Like, I'm not saying that they were lazy in this. I'm not saying that they didn't actually try. But ultimately, they made their kind of supplications and the Treasury and the UK government went, nah.
Yeah. Well, the Treasury and the UK government have every other department asking for billions of pounds, right?
And but I think, doesn't it sum it up that the two most powerful politicians in Wales, the First Minister, who leads the Welsh government inside the democratically elected Welsh Parliament, and the most powerful Welsh politician in Westminster, the Secretary of State for Wales, did everything they could, and Wales is still getting shafted. Doesn't that show that the system itself is just doesn't work? Yeah.
When was it that Wales had the chance to have railway devolved?
So,
when was that?
So back in 2005, 2006, heavy rail was offered to the Welsh government. So the government under Tony Blair said to the Welsh government, do you want to have rail devolved? And that would have meant all of this funding would have been automatic. Yeah. Billions and billions of pounds would have come to Wales. But the Welsh government rejected it. And the reason they rejected it was because at the time, the Welsh government and the Senedd weren't as confident as they are now. But also, a lot of Wales's rail infrastructure is quite old and it's crumbling and, it's perilously perched on the edge of valleys. And they were concerned that if there was like major repairs that were needed, they wouldn't have the expertise or the money to fix them, which is something I can understand perhaps at the time, but has proved to be. I mean, Mark Barry, a really respected academic on this, said it was the worst mistake the Welsh government ever made. Yeah,
it's interesting looking back at these things with hindsight, isn't it?
Yeah. I spoke to some guys at the Wales Governance Centre who do the analysis of what these big UK budgets mean for Wales. And they said, over the current UK Parliament, so that's 2023-24 to 28-29, the Welsh Government's budget in day-to-day terms will grow by 1.6%. This compares to 2.6% annual growth in real terms over the previous Parliament, so 2019 to 2024. So this means that actually Wales is forecast to grow less than under when Boris Johnson and Sunak and Truss were in
the gang.
Yeah, the gang, the three amigos,
the sugar babes.
Yeah, the sugar babes were in power. And obviously, COVID is a part of that. That affected budgets. Sure. I'm not pretending it didn't, but that is absolutely damning. And I think it shows that this idea of a partnership in power and two Labour governments at either end of the M4 was just a complete pipe dream. I mean, Leonard Morgan doesn't have a chance come the next election if this is the hand they're dealing her.
Yeah, but also as to come out of this and go, we got it, we did it, Joe. To come out with it,
did it, Joe.
to come out with it. And to try and spin, which is what you have to do, right? Like if you've been asking for all this stuff, you could either be like, we did it, or it wasn't enough. But it seemed disingenuous.
Eleni Morgan had two choices when the spending review came out. She could have come out and gone, do what she did, where she said, yeah, Wales is getting more money, this is good, look what we did. Or you can come out and say, what is the truth? Wales is getting screwed over here, this isn't acceptable.
Why do you think they didn't choose that second option, though? Because that would surely, if Labour are losing voters to Plaid, that is going to be Plaid's argument. Mm-hmm. If there's not going to... What do Welsh Labour need from the UK government in the next... before the election?
So
in terms of, like, you know, there's not going to be another spending review. There's going to be an awesome statement, but, like, nothing...
They're not going to get anything more. There's nothing else going. This was it.
So why don't you go for broke then? Because to make things awkward? Because it's kind of like a no-lose scenario where you go, well, actually, this is unacceptable, and, and I'm flagging this. I'm still standing up for Wales.
Mate, I couldn't agree with you more. Like, I think it's got to the point where they had to make the phrase "Red Welsh Way" mean something.
Yeah.
Because... really, this was exactly what we thought it would be with regard to rail, that there'd be something, but it wouldn't even come close, and actually it'd be a bit of a slap in the face. The reason that she hasn't come out and gone, screw you, UK Labour, is such a myriad of reasons. So firstly, they're good soldiers. Like, Welsh Labour isn't its own party. It's an arm of UK Labour. Like, many of the staff are appointed by UK Labour. There's also kind of this fear of don't bite the hand that feeds you.
But if they're feeding you...
If they're feeding you
percentages of what you
if they're feeding you half of what you need. If they're giving you under your recommended daily allowance of vitamins, you're not being fed well.
This vitamin has 10% vitamin C. This doesn't feel like...
Why has Scotland got 6 times the vitamins that we have? The other reasons are, you don't get to the top of a political party in the UK by being a massive boat rocker. Like... you just don't...
Enter Nigel Farage.
Yeah, unless you start the company / party yourself.
Sure.
And there's a lethargy around Welsh Labour at the moment, and it's just... they just feel beaten. I'm always amazed when I speak to Eleni Morgan how much energy she seems to have. Because if I had her plate, I'd have been like, oh, fuck this, I'm done. I'd just been like, nah. Like, it's the Lionel Hutz, a good lawyer couldn't win this.
Yeah.
You know, there's no will within the wider Welsh party to really rock the boat on this.
It just seems baffling, unless there's this understanding of some time in opposition would be good for us.
Yeah. Or they think... the thing to bear in mind is, say that they come out and they say, Keir Starmer, this is rubbish, you've really screwed over Wales, we're standing up against UK Labour. That is also a gift to Plaid, because it confirms the Plaid narrative that Wales has been screwed over. And it says their own party are unable to convince them.
Yeah.
So it really leaves them nowhere else to go. In some way. So it's not a risk-free tactic. I think it's worth doing because I think I'd rather not die wondering. The only good scenario for her was the UK government properly funds Wales. And even if they hadn't given Wales any extra money now, but they came in and said, look, we're going to redefine how rail is allocated. We're going to fix this. We're going to make sure this can't happen again. That would have cost no extra money in the short term.
Yeah. And do you think there's a chance of that? Like having a rabbit out of a hat like that, you know, if they go, look, we're really up against it and the election is looming, we need something. You've given us this money. We've tried to spin it. It hasn't really taken. Because it hasn't really taken, right? Like the argument that we've got loads of money hasn't...
UK Labour genuinely believe that they've given Wales an absolute gift. They've said, like, they basically think, you've got more money than you've ever had, go fix these problems, which they see as they're making, as in Welsh Labour's making.
They're like a very inattentive parent.
Yeah, they're an inattentive... they're the parent who, they buy their kid a car, but it's a rubbish car, and they don't give them any way of running the car.
Sure.
So that is kind of what devolution is, where they've gone... we've bought you a car. Could I have some driving lessons? No. Could I have some petrol? No. Sort it out yourself. And then giving them...
Scotland, you get a Lambo. Enjoy.
Scotland, you get a train.
Yeah, it's true.
Ultimately, putting aside the politics and how does this affect Labour, the people in Wales are screwed. Your rail is going to be underfunded compared to other parts of the UK for decades. For decades more because of this decision.
Keep smiling.
Hey, if you want to sponsor ForWalesSeeWales.
Yeah. Imagine if TFW did. That'd be fun.
Oh, yeah, I'd take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd take it.
That'd be fun. We could do a podcast live on a train. Like a really long one because it'd be delayed.
Yeah. Yeah, we do it from a platform.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Just sitting there quietly.
Yeah, we could do that.
Just waiting.
Get in touch. What are you doing the first Saturday night in September?
I think I'm going to erode any accusations of South Wales bias on this podcast.
Interesting. I'm doing something similar. I'm going to be in North Wales.
I'm going to be in North Wales.
Do you think Mel might be in North Wales?
I haven't seen a calendar, but I'm pretty sure Mel's going to be in North Wales.
Well, if we're all in North Wales on the first Saturday evening in September, we should do a live show, right?
I think we need to do a live show. I reckon the 6th of September, we do a live show in North Wales.
Okay. Well, let's work it out, and maybe we can put tickets on sale and let people know.
I mean, save the date. Save the 6th of September.
Your 4th wedding of the year.
My 4th wedding. Yeah. Save the date. 6th September. ForWalesSeeWales is coming to North Wales. More details to follow. But yeah, I'm so excited for it.
It's going to be great.
The last live show was such a good laugh, and it's going to be so nice to actually go to another part of Wales that isn't just Cardiff and Newport.
Totally, the live show was absolutely, it was really fun. It was really silly. It was legally dubious, and we were thrilled with how many people turned up. So yeah.
What we'll also say is, if you're looking to sponsor the podcast, if you're a charity, we had Oxfam Cymru. We did a really, really important piece on them last week. So yeah, get in touch. If you're a member of Public Affairs in Wales, you've probably got my email address. But if not, email ForWalesSeeWales@gmail.com.
Make it polite. Really polite email.
Yeah, really polite. And I'll respond just going, ta.
Noted. I once worked with somebody who thought they were getting loads of spam emails from somebody, but it was actually somebody asking them for advice and things. And eventually they replied to this person after 7 unreplied emails just with the word unsubscribe in capitals because they thought it was a spam thing. So this poor person was asking for advice, and this person who's in the comedy industry replied unsubscribe. Absolutely brutal.
That is. When did they realise they made a mistake?
I don't think they did realise. I think they have such lack of self-awareness that they probably think it's fine. And I'll tell you who that person is at the live show.
Oh, you little rascal. I love it. Okay, anything to plug?
I'm on tour next year, coming to Wales and beyond, and I'm doing the Edinburgh Festival for a week at the start of August. So you can get tickets on my website, which is Robin J. Morgan. The J stands for John. .co.uk.
And I do the Will Hayward newsletter, which is written by me, Will Hayward. And if you Google Will Hayward newsletter, I've said my name too many times, you can find it, and you can basically deep dive into issues about Wales and be more informed about the world around you.
Absolutely. And Mel Owen is a fantastic comedian and writer and has a book out, and you should see her at gigs because she's fabulous.
And she's not in prison.
No, not anymore. The system's too soft.
No, it's political correctness gone mad.
Awful. Bye.
Diolch.
See you later.